Hello, world. That didn't take long. Welcome to a Wednesday. Scotty, take the show. You're leading the show today.
Hey man, it probably wouldn't go much better with me because I'm fighting a cold myself.
Oh,
I'm all like congested, been sneezing and runny nose.
well,
So
don't. We're on the DL today, but I'll tell you what. We're gonna get through it. We're gonna power through this show. It is a Wednesday edition of the YSN Power Hour, proudly powered by our friends at Toyota Warren, DJ Yoakley, Scotty Mincher joining us as he does every Wednesday. Scooter, what's new and exciting in your world, my friend?
uh, new and exciting. Well, let's see. I just bought and I think this is the first time ever that I've actually purchased them, but I've had them from other people that have purchased them. But I bought myself some Girl Scout cookies today.
What?
I guess it's that season. Yeah, I got a bunch. I got like 6 different flavors.
You
Um,
somebody got they pegged you for a sucker and they got you, buddy.
yeah, they did.
What's
Uh,
your go-to for Girl Scout cookies?
you can't go wrong in my opinion with the mints.
Thin mints.
Those are always safe. Um, I really like the peanut butter as well because I love
For those
peanut.
the tagalongs?
Yeah. Uh, let's see what else. I think I might have got like um toffee ones and like there's like these coconut.
Some Samoans or whatever they are.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Samoans. Those are good ones. Um,
Those are good ones. There's I mean, they've changed them up and listen, they know they've got the market cornered. They
oh,
know they got suckers like you and I caught by the tail.
the other ones I forgot, and they look really good, but they're s'more. They have like the marshmallow in the chocolate. They look like they're gonna be really good.
I'm gonna have to check that one out.
Yeah. Uh, but yeah, I am a sucker.
What's a Girl Scout cookie box up to nowadays?
Uh, it kind of like from what I saw from the pictures online, it was really pretty cheesy. Like the little schoolgirls like
No,
dressed.
I'm not saying what does it look like. How much does it cost, Scotty?
Oh, how much does it cost? uh, like I paid for mine. It was like $6
A
per like
box.
box. Yeah.
Whew.
So yeah, I got 6 boxes. So you can do the math. I spent more than I should have.
Look
But
at you spending your whole paycheck on Samoas.
as as I like to say, you only live once. So
You well, you and I are gonna die a lot quicker eating those Girl Scout cookies. I'll tell you that. Uh, Especially because we'll be in debt over our eyeballs, um, just from eating all that sugar. All right, you have a really interesting topic that you want to talk about today. I would love for you to introduce it.
yeah, so with today being National Signing Day for college football, I thought it'd be good if we kind of dived into uh, National Signing Day and not just in the as far as the college football landscape goes and in the college football world, but in really all of sports, other sports like do you think, I guess, starting with football, what does National Signing Day mean to you? Do you care at all about National Signing Day? And if you do care, like, how less significant or more significant is it now with the transfer portal and NIL and things of that nature? I never really talked about this with you, DJ, so I was really curious your thoughts. And I guess we could start with football first, obviously, since it is National Signing Day for football.
So this is a really interesting conversation, one that I had yesterday with a couple of different people. Um, like it's different nowadays because it used to be really just D1 that you had national letter of intents that are signed, and now it's everywhere. And I can tell you that I can appreciate these NLIs and national signing days and all that stuff. And I think that it is certainly something that you should be proud of whenever you decide to, cash in your chips at the high school level, so to speak, and then you're going to go on and play and further your academic and athletic careers at the next level. I think that's cool. Although I think that it's turned into a business. And I mean that in not a bad thing, not in a bad way, but it's turned into a business in the aspect of, you know, some people do it, some people don't. Instead of it being one day every quarter, it's a business of me a lot of times, right? It's the business of that particular student athlete, because some student athletes don't want to sign with other student athletes. Some student athletes take a lot longer to decide. Some student athletes never decide on what they're going to do. And some student athletes decide on what they're going to do and they end up transferring or withdrawing from the college before they even step foot on campus. So for me, I can get behind it. I understand it. I appreciate it. Certainly we cover as much as we can on YSN. But I think there needs to be more of a rhythm to this. I don't think schools should necessarily be the ones that are on the hook for this. And I think there's a lot of parents that are going to say, well, wait a minute. Like, schools, this is a whole ordeal because you're bringing in families, you're bringing in, and trust me, it is a celebration, but sometimes it gets a little out of hand. I mean, when you're taking kids out of class, let's face it, you're supposed to be in class when you're in school. Like, that's the whole purpose of being in school, is being in the classroom. And when you've got an entire football team or an entire volleyball team or an entire baseball team, and it, like the list goes on and on and on and on, and you're bringing people in from different universities and different colleges to come to these, and grandma and grandpa and aunt and uncle, and some of these pictures are 40 people in a picture to celebrate that one person, which I love. Don't get me wrong. But there's an element of business to this. That's advertising for that university, right? Everybody's wearing a university of whatever t-shirt or sweatshirt. And I don't know, Scotty, the whole thing's just interesting to me. And anymore, it's like every other day there's a signing somewhere, and hey, we need you to come down to this signing. Hey, you need to be here. Hey, like, if you're doing 20 signings, the average right now is about 10 student athletes are moving on per school, right? 10. That's the average. That means that 2 in the fall, 2 or 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring, or 3 in the winter, 3 in the spring, and then 1 somewhere else. That's average. Now you've got places like Austintown Fitch and Boardman and that have more kids. Warren JFK, has less kids, but more kids that are going the next level, because a lot of, I think 70% of them play athletics. So what I'm getting at here is I am going to make it my personal goal to get a signing day that is not in school, but is out of school, so that people can come. Here's your day. Here's your slot. You come in. We do a interview. We do a signing. We have your banners. We have all that stuff. And then it's done until 3 months from now, and then you can do it like over a weekend. And I think that it's one of those things that should be done at athletics, a place that there's a facility, and it can be a kind of a tank for it. You know what I mean? You go around, but I don't think, I'm one of the few, and I'm not speaking for any particular school, I don't think schools and athletic directors should be on the hook for this, because the kids should be in school doing this. I get that they're very proud, but do it once or twice a year and that's it. It shouldn't be done every other week, depending on when people sign. And I think that parents that do point to this and say, hey, my son or my daughter deserves the same treatment, they do. But you also need to make sure that, if you miss this date, you got to catch the next one. I mean, trains don't run on your schedule, they run on theirs. And I think schools should be able to do the same thing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Your takes, and I think you bring up some valid points about it. I that like so I'll start my take with, and I'll ask you another question, DJ. So you really think like the um especially with the signing days, do you think it's like exclusively, like it's pretty much on the parents if these kids are like not in class and taking a part of this, because you're so young when you're in high school and you're determining like, okay, where do I want to? And it's kind of like a big show, a grand spectacle they make out of it. Do you? So you're kind of putting the heat on the parents. Is that what I was?
This is, I mean, it's all pomp and circumstance. This is all what, I mean, it's very much like graduation, right? Graduation is just a celebration of, a big party, so to speak. I mean, all the graduates have already graduated. They've already, predetermined it. Same thing when you get married, right? That's a ceremony. This is all pomp and circumstance. This is all just celebrating the thing. Most of these athletes don't actually need to sign a letter of intent to play at the next level. Most of these student athletes are Division II, Division III, JUCO. There's no real letter of intent because there's no scholarship dollars that are being transferred in most cases. And that's what it was. That's what it started as. Is the majority of these student athletes were being acknowledged because they're receiving, funds and scholarships to go to the next level. I'm not saying it's silly, and it's going to sound like I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth. I'm not. I think that there is a business element to this. I don't think the schools and athletic departments should be on the hook. The same reason that most parents get upset with coaches, because coaches aren't there promoting their kids to universities. That's not their job. It's not the same way. It's not athletic departments' jobs. If they want to do it, that's phenomenal, to go above and beyond. But it's not in their job description to make sure that you're holding national letter of intent days and signing days for your student athletes. This is all just added value to the experience that the schools are having. And I think where this is getting twisted is that this became an expectation instead of a luxury somewhere along the line, Scotty. And I don't understand it, because it's, it's a business move. That's what this is. This is something that parents yearn for. They yearn for this picture the same way that, the frustration and why we're seeing youth sports going downward, right? Everybody wants their kid to play sports, and the kids are saying, I'm tired of it, because, mom and dad are yelling at little Johnny and little Jenny in the back seat when they're 5 years old and they miss a free throw, in a 6U game. That doesn't matter at all. There's no scouts in the stand. There's no recruiters in the stands at 5U and 6U basketball. A lot of times I think this is more for the parents and and we're going to get real for a second here. The amount of money that they've poured into their son or their daughter over the years, and said, "Hey, this is this is the moment that I've been waiting for." And a lot of these T-shirts and hats and things that nature aren't even being given to the student athlete. They have to pay for those to put them on the table, and the flag and all that stuff. Um, and I think I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think a third of athletes that decide that they're going to go on to play sports at the next level never finish um, doing so through their senior years and through graduation in college. So, while it is to be celebrated, I think it's all twisted about whose responsibility it is. And I really do think it is the parents' responsibility and the student athlete's responsibility. With social media, they seem to not have any trouble getting things out on their own anymore anyway. I'm not sure that it's the school's responsibility or the athletic director's responsibility in this day and age to have to promote almost forcefully that these kids are going on to play at the next level and where they're going to play. It should be the parents, and it should be the student athletes themselves. I mean, they're grown adults at this point, 17, 18 years old, right? They want all the responsibility. They, take it, but don't stop relying on athletic directors and blaming athletic directors and coaches for things that don't go your way. And that's the frustrating part. That's what I see from my lens. Is there's a lot of accountability on parents, as there should be, right? But parents are wrong when they say that athletic directors should bend over backwards for their kids because they wear a particular uniform, or coaches should be helping them, without a question, without a shadow of a doubt, going to the next level. That's not a coach's job. Like, it's a coach's job to point them in the right direction, and that not every kid is Division 1 or Division 2 or even Division 3. Some kids shouldn't play at the next level, and it might be a dream. And if that's your dream, go after it. But if a coach, they're taking so much heat because they say, you know what, it might be better to just focus on your studies. It might be better to just, try and walk on, or like, just go and be a part of the team elsewhere, or look at a career in coaching. Because the reality is not everybody's cut out for college sports. And that's why it is special when the kids do play, no matter what level. But the problem is sometimes these universities will take anybody with a pulse just to be a tackling dummy, or a bullpen catcher, or an extra body on a scout team. And they'll set you up by telling you that, hey, you're going to be you have a chance to be something here. And some of them are lying, and some of them are telling you the truth. You got to figure it out who it is. And that's the trouble, is sometimes signing on that dotted line on National Letter of Intent Day and National Signing Day. You're signing your belief. You're putting your faith in someone who is just out there selling you on a dream that they know that you're willing to put your whole entire being and a lot of money into, for something that they kind of they get to whittle the final product of what you become. So it's frustrating. The bottom line is this whole day to me is a very frustrating day. It's because it's not just a day anymore. It's an entire year, and it's all over the board. It's all over the board, Scotty, and it's crazy. It's too much. And I think athletic directors will tell you this. I think coaches will tell you it's too much. There's just so much of this going on in every sport and in every school, and there's no cohesion. It's like wrangling cats, herding cats. It's just too much.
Do you think, like, as far as all this goes, and with, like, because it's college football's day today, like, with the college football, like, do you think maybe you talked about the schools that will really just kind of take on anybody, just to have another body, and they they get like they get talked about. Do you think it's a lot of it has to do with, like, the bigger schools, like Ohio State football, for example, or Duke basketball. Like, do you think this is it's maybe not, we're just not hearing about it as much with the schools that are on like a smaller level that aren't as like notorious for great sports, like say like a smaller school like Akron or like a school like Tulsa? Do you think we just don't hear about that stuff that goes on, or do you think it just doesn't happen as much as some of the big time schools and like their activity?
Like I think that the real troublesome number here. Sorry, my mic's down. The real troublesome number that most people need to realize before they sign on the dotted line is having a real conversation with not just the head coach, but the recruiter that's trying to bring you in. Right? A lot of times that's an assistant coach or a training coach, or in baseball's case, we've had some kids that have been really close, if not drafted, out of high school, out of college. You need to be able to cut through the BS. And I think that's the biggest thing is most of these high school seniors, right? You are at, and I tell every high school senior, you are at a really interesting time in your life because everybody's going to pat you on the back. It's the greatest, one of the greatest years of your life, and it's made to be so that way because it's the transition year. One of the biggest transition years of your entire life until you, God willing, have children, right? You go from being a boy to a man, a girl to a woman from that standpoint in the eyes of everybody. Excuse me, I'm having trouble. Hang on. 17 to 18 years old, right? Your last year of high school. Everybody is so proud of you for accomplishing something that you should be able to do. It is almost it is a requirement to do a lot of things in the world is to have a high school education. It was never a celebration in my family that I graduated high school, even though only one half of my parents were able to do so. My dad went and got his GED. And it wasn't even brought to my attention until I was a senior in high school because, that was the expectation from my dad, from my mom. It's not a if situation. You will get this. And I think that's the difference is a lot of these people in your senior year, you're so coddled in what you deserve and leaving, and that's why your senior year goes so fast is because you're doing so much to create this legacy in such a small amount of time because you want to do everything that you possibly could in that 1 year so that you remember it for the rest of your life, that you don't have a chance to pump the brakes and really enjoy the last year of your high school career. And I think the biggest thing for parents is they're trying to fit everything in too. And you start one day and it's senior prom before you know it. And the next thing you know, you're on a stage, you get a diploma, and you're done. And I will tell you, there is this incredible shift in when you leave high school, when you walk out that door. Everybody thinks that, hey, I'm going to go back. I'm going to high five everybody when I've got this great career. I'm going to carry this town on my back. I'm going to do all this stuff. And then when you realize that the page is turned from 1 year to the next, the focus turns to that next generation, that next year. And not that you're forgotten about, but you're not the priority again. And that you now are in a next level situation where you've got to climb another ladder. You're not even on the same ladder. You're not even on the same boat many times. You're on that next boat, that next ship, looking at a journey that looks real foggy. You don't know what to expect. And a lot of these seniors that are now freshmen, especially if you're playing sports, you got to find your way quick because you're going up against people that are 4, 5, 6, 7 years older than you are. Thanks, COVID. And you're in a situation where you either it's a fight or flight scenario. You're either going to fight to be on that team or you're going to fly back. And the trouble that we see is sometimes that one picture, that one signing day might be the only time, the only proud moment in 66.6% of those student athletes that are going to college. That might be the only time that you get a picture with the family wearing all the gear, wearing all the drip from that school, because some of these kids won't even make it through the first year or the first season of their intended sport. So not that that's a bad thing, Scotty, but it's a reality that, and I don't want to play Debbie Downer, but these recruiters, these coaches at the next level are, for better or lack of a better term, sometimes they're just salespeople, and they're just trying to get you to come to their school, and you might make it. You might not.
Yeah, I mean, there's no real, like, the loyalty factor really only goes so far. I think it's kind of like dog eat dog once you get to that level. Like,
But so is the real world, and that's what I want to get across. It's not a bad thing, right? I made it through. I went to Ohio Northern. I didn't make it to my freshman season, right? I quit. I gave up because I was transferring. I didn't like the fit. I didn't like how I felt. It didn't feel the way that it felt when I went there. I went to Westminster. I felt right at home. I made it through my first year with the team. I made it through my 3/4 of my second year, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to be a Major League Baseball player. I'm going to go do my broadcasting thing. Seemed to work out okay in the long run. But at the same time, if I didn't go through that process, that dog eat dog, like you said, I wouldn't be standing here with you today and saying, look, I'm a competitor. I'm gonna fight. I've lost my share of games and matches, but in the real world, there's nothing that gets you more prepared than the college experience. And for these college student athletes, they're going to have to take that. So there is good to it as well, of learning to really be a competitor, because let's be honest, there's a great deal of our student athletes that have got by on a lot of hard work, right? But a lot of talent. And they've been the most talented kid or student athlete, not only on their team, but in their area for quite some time. Then you graduate, and now everybody is starting at the same level that you are. I mean, think about how good some of these student athletes have been, and then they go to the next level, and either they are equal to or lesser than the athletes that we see on television or on streams and things of that nature. So think about how good. It's not that there was a drop off, is that there was an increase in the skill level of everybody else. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind too. It's not always, these athletes are so good, and then magically over summer they lose their powers, of being a really good student athlete. It's just everybody else is that good at the next level. And that's why, I believe it should be celebrated in some capacity when you do play at the next level. When someone likes you enough to play, to bring you onto their team, whether it's a walk-on, D3, D2, JUCO, D1, there should be an acknowledgement. I just don't think that the schools should be on the hook for it, and necessarily that kids should have to come out of class or should be able to come out of class, especially if they're not seniors, to be able to be part of that acknowledgement. That's just my personal opinion.
because you feel like the other student athletes have kind of paid their due. It's kind of like in a sense, from what I'm getting from that, is it's kind of like the whole everybody gets a trophy thing, sports like participation, like in
No, I unless you're related directly, like a brother or a sister of that student that's signing, I don't think that seniors should be dismissed, or I'm sorry, that juniors, sophomores, and freshmen should be dismissed from class because they should be in class. Like, there's a good chance there's something that you can learn in the class that you're supposed to be in. Now, if you're in recess or lunch and you want to skip out and be in a picture, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But like, you shouldn't. I mean, what if you have a test that day that they're doing signing day? Like, you shouldn't be able to be excused to that. I think that it's a weird precedent that you're setting. And I've already heard people say, well, okay, well, schools should do this at 7 o'clock instead of during the day at noon, or during the day at 9 o'clock. Hang on. But yeah, I think that I'm going to beat this cold. I'm going to beat it. I'm going to beat it. But I think that, nobody can wrap their mind around how this should work. And what I'm trying to get across is we will. Like YSN, we are working on, now we are now laser focused on how we're going to change signing days moving forward, because it's just too much. And we get yelled at when we don't go to signing days, and we get yelled at when we do because we're not there for, I mean, just being able to have it in one spot, right? And this is when you're, signing up for your own time slot. So you check the box on all of this, because the other part is it's not even a secret anymore. Like, what I used to love about signing day, Scotty, and National Letter of Intent Day was like being at the table and then someone would take the hat and put the hat on, the suspense. Now it's this kid this kid is committed in, June of their senior year, going into their senior year, and they don't sign till February. Like, and the whole time they're promoting, hey, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here. And then there's a signing day for it. So like, you're extending this PR thing, like 6 months, 8 months. It's silly. Okay, here it is. Boom. You have your signing day here. You're done with it. Move on with your life. And that's the trouble, because now every student athlete is a brand. Now every school is a brand. Right. And while I'm grateful for a lot of that, because it makes our job a little bit easier, the expectation of you need to be there when my kid signs. Well, we already promoted that they're going to. They've already done an interview talking about it. Like, you just want a picture of your son or daughter, signing a piece of paper. Okay, cool. It's a little bit warped. You know what I mean? And in this everyday world that we're living in of, that my kid better be front page news, it's just not feasible. As much as we absolutely try, it's just not feasible, especially given that even one school could have up to a signing every other week. And it's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. It's absolutely crazy. Have one day every 3 months. That's it. If you miss one day, then you get 3 months from now. You can bank on that. You miss that day, 3 months from now. You miss that day, 3 months from now. You miss that day, listen, that's on you.
So well.
Yeah, like maybe you should rethink college at that point if you miss that many days of signing days. So I don't know. I mean, it is a frustrating thing. Like, I do love it. I don't want people to think that I'm poo-pooing the idea of promoting kids. Obviously, I feel like I'm I'm in the lead boat for that. You know what I mean? we're setting the table for all of that. But I think that this NIL stuff, the NIL stuff is completely separate. The NLI, the National Letter of Intent, the signing day stuff, it's gotten out of hand. It's gotten out of hand. And that's why when people look at NIL, the name, image, and likeness stuff, it's coming to high school. It's coming. And there's not one parent, there's not one school, there's not one athletic director that is actively prepared for when this thing drops. It's happening in Pennsylvania. It's already happening in Pennsylvania. So if you think that this is not going to happen in Ohio in the very near future, you're out of your mind. We are preparing for it. YSN, we are preparing for NIL in high school. And it's coming. And nobody's going to be ready for it. Everybody's going to be caught with their pants down, and it is going to be a problem. Athletic directors, mark my words, athletic directors will quit their jobs. They will quit. They will go work other jobs that they never thought they would ever have to work, because the demand for what they're going to be asked to do is going to be so high. So high. There's going to be so much that they have no power over anymore. They'll lose all their power. Coaches will stop coaching. Certainly officials will stop officiating, worse than they already are. NIL is going to be a problem if we do not get ahead of it. And I think Pennsylvania's done an excellent job. But I think Ohio, you hear about Ohio, Florida, Texas, California, Ohio's going to be a problem, because our administrators are pushing this, saying, no, we don't want this, we don't want this. Student athletes are saying, I want to get paid. Parents are saying, I want my son or my daughter to get paid. This is, and David Balestrino, I mean, he talks about it up here. Open enrollment, this whole thing is going to set everything off. You've got open enrollment, you've got the NIL stuff that will come. It's going to be college drop down, and we've seen it. YSN has certainly been a conduit for that in what we do. So Scotty, there's a lot of stuff. It's coming, and the simple fact is, if parents cannot handle and schools cannot handle National Letter of Intent and signing days, there's no way that it's going to be a clean transition when NIL enters the world of Ohio high school sports. I think, and don't quote me on this, within the next 24 months.
Wow. That's a real, like, I heard like murmurs of it really happening, but I didn't know it was, like you're saying, don't quote you, but I didn't know it could be happening like that's within the next like 2 years or so. Like, that is wild to think about.
Well, think about this. Okay, so everything that we've seen done in the OHSAA has been, everybody watch what's happening in the left hand while something else is happening in the right. Right? I mean, a lot of businesses do that. A lot of government does that. They're trying to introduce more divisions for more sports on this hand, right? And they've been very open to it. They've shown their hand. It's been in the public eye. 7 divisions of baseball, 7 divisions of softball, 7 divisions of, I mean, it goes on and on. So does my cough. What do you think's happening over here? They're getting their money here while they can, because they know. I'm done. I apologize. They know, the OHSA knows that over here that there is more money to be made from different sectors. There's more money, more opportunities to be made from different sectors. That more sectors is NIL. It's coming. Student athletes will make money. OHSA will get a cut of it somehow. That's just how it's going to go. Be ready for it. Like, and when it happens, don't sit there and be like, gee willikers, I wonder how they pulled the wool over our eyes again. It's going to happen. People, the OHSA does not care at this point that you know they're making money. The nonprofit is making and sitting on $20 million. They don't care that you know that. That should set off a bunch of red alarms and red alerts in your mind of what's happening in this hand. If they don't care that you know they're sitting on 20 million, they are Scrooge McDucking us all, and over here they're going to be getting more money. It's incredible. And then we expect them to police themselves. They're listen, they're making that much money over here, and they're telling you, you know what? I don't think your son or daughter should be bringing in money. They shouldn't be able to. Now, Scotty, you and I both know that there's people that are listening, watching this right now, that are having a tough time putting food on the table, that don't have beds to sleep in. But yet on a Friday night, they're out there busting their humps, representing their community. I have no problem with NIL. And here's why. If that young man or young woman can help their parents put food on the table with their athletic talents, because in today's day and age, there is no time to go get a second job. A lot of times, there's some coaches that are different. I understand this. A lot of times, there's no opportunity. If you are not at practice, you are not playing. Does not matter if your family needs you or not. And that's the problem. These guys sitting on 20 mil, they don't care. They don't care at all, because they understand that there is a pie, and that if the student athletes can't cut their own piece of that pie, there's more pie to be had for the fat cats down in Columbus. That's what you got to understand, that there's a game being played within the game, and that there's a lot of trouble that administrators have, but they're doing things, they're trying to make decisions for their communities while the OHSA is making decisions for their wallets. So just be ready.
It should be, I mean, that's going to be the trickle down effect, the domino effect. Once it gets to that level in high school, man, buckle up.
Siggy says, why can't the student athlete in high school work? Isn't that the argument for college that they're okay? So Siggy, here's the difference is a lot of times the student athlete in high school cannot work because they've got to be at lifting at 6 a.m. or aquatic at 6 a.m. or yoga at 6 a.m. They've got obviously class starting at 7:30 through, let's say, 3 o'clock. Okay, just hear me out. Then they've got practice from 3:30 to 6:30. And then they've got maybe lifting from 6:30 to 7:30. Then they've got to go home. And I believe there are limitations for you can't hold on to kids for a certain amount of time, right? If they're always obviously encouraged to do extracurricular activities outside of extracurricular activities like sports. So they're going to be in the drama club. They're going to be in theater. They're going to be in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts. They're going to be all these things. So then you've got things that you've got to go from 7:30 to 8:30 or 7:30 to 9. Then you've got to come home and do your homework. And oh, by the way, you've got to get enough sleep and spend some time with your family who you haven't seen all day. A lot of times this is a 14-year-old child. 14 years old. And I know why we feel like when we were 14 years old that we were all grown up. But as a 39-year-old looking back at how 14 felt, I was only a couple years, from playing with action figures. That was it, man. I was a couple years removed from playing with Ninja Turtles, and we're expecting these 14-year-olds to be able to last all day on no sleep because of the expectations that we have. And you got to be a man, and you got to be a woman, and you got to put your community on your back. Like, these are expectations that are very lofty and very trying for a young person, right? And to add a job on top of that you're looking at 4 hours a night or 2 hours a night, or heaven forbid 8 hours. There's kids out there that do have full-time jobs. I think that a lot of this is why we're seeing a decline, on top of some of the reasons we've already talked about in youth sports and in amateur sports, is because we expect these kids to come out and contribute, but the only work ethic they know is what we've built through sports. And and sometimes for coaches, the only way that they can keep kids is to be not as tough on them, because we've got the Karens and Gavins out there that are going to sit there and come out and yelling at us, yelling at coaches, yelling at the media, because you're too tough on their kid, or the expectations that they have aren't living up to, or their kid's not getting the same playing time as this kid. And there's a lot of hardships that these kids have to go through, but the finger's always pointed at the adult in the situation. And when the adult has to make tough decisions, they get beat up for that too. So, like, that's why I'm kind of on the team of, hey, we talked about the NIL or NLI stuff, the signing day stuff. I don't think athletic directors in school should be responsible. They shouldn't be on the hook. I think that's on the family in one capacity or another. I don't think that NIL is a bad idea. If you're going to keep kids for 10, 12 hours a day, they should have an opportunity to make money with those gifts that they're being blessed with. Like, when I was growing up, best babysitters in town were the kids that were smart, right? Or a lot of time they were the girls that were smart. The first question parents ask you, what's your GPA? How are your grades? They get business and they get to make money because of their grades. Why can't kids, student athletes, make money because they're good at football, because they're good at baseball, because they're, being able to put on clinics of what they've learned? I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm crazy. I think they should be able to make money.
I agree. I think it's something like you talk with like other generations, like people older than us, like baby boomers or whatever, and I talk to a lot of people, and they'll say, "Well, when I was in school, like I didn't have two nickels to rub together, and this and that," and
I had to walk up snow-covered hills both ways.
yeah, like you get like a lot of that talk, but it's like, yeah,
Siggy's that guy. When he was in school, everything was tougher. He'll tell you all about it. Everything was tougher for Siggy when he was in school than how these kids had it, how I had it. He's only a couple years older than me, and he's telling me how tough he had it as opposed to how I had it. He's ridiculous. He's Eeyore sometimes.
yeah, and I just think, like with everything, like things change. Like it's cool when things could stay the same, some things, but a lot of things are gonna change whether people like it or not. And I just think you look at like even the '90s compared to now, with like just inflation, the prices of everything. It's I don't know. It's just a different. It seems like quite a different beast animal.
Hey, gas. When I dropped Z off at school this morning, was $2.95. When I came to pick him up, it was $3.19. Just saying.
Wow.
Like if you don't understand kind of the big game of what's going on here, from that standpoint and how things change so quickly, and I'm not just talking about gas prices, like it's the inflation is, and I'm not getting into politics. There's a different channel that I'm on sometimes that I talk about that stuff. But like, there's this whole game has changed, and contributions of family members have changed along the way with it. And there's a big business for sports nowadays. People used to look at me like I had three heads whenever I was younger, and I thought sports could be a career, and they still did until about, I don't know, 2 years ago. And then they went, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, when you revolutionize an industry and you're realizing that the potential of this creates jobs and this creates opportunities, and yeah, people will start following you, but nobody wants to cut the weeds down that it takes to find the path to do so. And nobody wants to be that first car that goes off the lot, off the onto the track, right? Nobody wants to be that first person, that first thing, because the unknown, it's a fear. Some of us are afraid of it, and some of us aren't. And the bottom line is that someone's going to come along and revolutionize and lead a charge for NIL in high school sports, and they're going to get through because there's enough people that they can convince that kids. And listen, go ahead and try and tell someone's parent that their kid isn't special in 7th grade through 12th grade. Go ahead and tell them that and see how it goes for you. Because it hasn't gone real well in the case scenarios that I've been in, right? But luckily for us, we choose to promote the positive, and we choose to become a platform that gives a heroic sense of belonging to these student athletes in their community. That is what separates us from everybody else. But what I will tell you is there's going to be some crazy ass that decides that they're going to do the same thing for NIL in the state of Ohio, and they're going to go and they're going to make a lot of money doing it. Truth. There's your truth bomb for the day, Scotty.
Truth bomb.
We got to put a bow on this, because it is time for the Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark, presented by Joe Dickey Electric. Anything commercial, residential, anything electrical, head over to dickieelectric.com. What do you
got? Yeah, so my spark today, and it kind of goes with our discussion today. I just wanted to say that I've been thinking a lot about just my life lately and everything I've been doing, working here, with being with the Ysn family, the Purple Cat, getting back to therapy. And I think like what's really helped motivate me, and it's my spark for today, is Jimmy something. He always talks about the dignity of risk. And I think that sometimes we're like so afraid to change things up or take a risk on certain things because we're like comfortable, and like you said, DJ, the fear of the unknown. But I think sometimes in life you reach a certain point and it's like you're content, you're getting by, but you just don't feel like you just feel like kind of like you're just coasting, and you're questioning yourself. And I guess what I'm saying is, before I go too far off the rails here, like I've thought a lot about making changes in my life, and eating healthier, and attacking therapy even harder. I've even considered maybe driving with adaptive equipment. It's something I'm going to talk to my case managers about. So I'm all for it. I just want people to take that gamble. Like you have to be able to take risks sometimes, and I think we would all be better if we were just a little more bold at times. I guess that's my spark.
I love it, buddy. I don't even know how to follow that up. I was just gonna say that I'm pissed that gas went from $2.95 to $3.19. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But I like your spark. spark a hell of a lot better, and I like mine. That's going to do it for our show today. Special thanks, as always, to my good buddy, Mr. Scotty Mincher, for joining us on this wacky Wednesday, Scotty Wednesday. And Scotty, last thing before we go, who do you got in the Super Bowl?
I think player for player, the Niners are a better team, but I think the most important position, QB, I don't think it's really close. So I think the Chiefs do it again.
I don't like you. No, I'm kidding. I could care less. I think the Niners win, but I'm okay with either one. Good luck. I hope everything. I hope it's a great game. Hope it's a great game. A lot of scoring. Wink, wink. That happens. Hopefully, we will see, and we will break it down next Wednesday. Scotty, have a great week, and for everybody else, we'll see you tomorrow, 3 to 4, right here on your Sports Network. See ya. Ysn.